Is Zouk a spiritual dance? Do you have to be a spiritual person to dance Zouk? Is it too hippie?
Guys, drinking tea, brewing tea is a spiritual practice.
Drinking beer?
Drinking beer.
Okay.
Drinking beer.
Okay, now I'm there.
I would say drinking beer because I visited an old monastery in Germany where the brewing of beer was part of the meditation practice. When I think about that, any days that we do that connects ourselves to other human being, connects ourselves to ourselves, understanding ourselves better, and doing something that we find purpose and meaning, it is a ginormous spiritual practice.
You know, it makes me think about those social media influencers that I can just smell the BS from the phone. I'm like, you don't walk the walk.
What we are trying to demystify here is that even if you're not fitting in that stereotype, you might still be doing a spiritual practice.
I mean, those dances may not intentionally be anything that started as a spiritual experience, but when you lose yourself and you're like, oh my God, that dance, I don't even know what happened. You just had a spirit experience, right?
Something connected you deeper to yourself, to the other, to something beyond that you cannot explain.
We all hippies, okay?
We are hippies.
We all hippies.
But that's the point. That's the point. I think we are all hippies. Even if you don't drink tea, even if you don't go do retreats and meditation retreats, that you don't do yoga, but you do have in your dance a way to connect with these things we have been talking about. Under this definition, it is a spiritual practice.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode. My name is Alisson Sanji, and let's welcome back our beautiful co-host Gui Prada.
Hello Alisson, hello everybody. Let's go.
Well, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about another topic that divides a lot of the community. Is Zouk a spiritual dance? Do you have to be a spiritual person to dance Zouk? Do you have to dress a certain way? Is it too hippie?
Mm-hmm.
You know, those are conversations that we've had in our Facebook ZoukNerds group, but as well in person. We've heard friends and students saying that their friends think that Zouk is too hippie and too spiritual, and you have to dress a certain way to become part of the community, and we're all weird dancers.
People look in each other's eyes too much.
Yeah.
The song whale music and songs of the forest and all these things. Yeah.
Look, if you've been here with us for a while, you know that we embrace and we celebrate all styles and expressions of the dance. And let's be very honest, this is one expression of this dance. But I think before we get to that, we need to really understand in what context we're talking about spirituality here in this episode and within the dance.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's proper for us to hear from the Buddha himself, Gui Prada. What context can we talk about in terms of spirituality first, and then spirituality in dance? Let's go.
Yes. Spirituality, there's something spiritual is one of those terms that are thrown out there, like connection, like intimacy, that man, there are so many definitions for it. And the one definition of spirituality that I really like and that I use for myself is anything that you do that gets you closer to your understanding of sacred, to your understanding of divine. And anything that you do that helps you in your search for meaning, helps you in your search for purpose, in your search for self. And the thing that you do that you find that connects you to something larger than yourself. Something that you do to understand yourself, to then connect yourself with something larger than yourself. So depending on who you ask, that varies so much. If you ask the Buddhists what is spirituality for them, they are going to tell you something. If you ask the Hindus, the Christians, the atheists, the agnostics, everybody, the astrophysicists, physicists, everybody will have a different thing that they will tell you. The underlying thing that I heard or that I gathered from all of this is that it's something that you do. It's a practice. Yeah. So the spirituality is related to a practice of something.
And I think that in dance, as Gui is describing all of this, I am not somebody who consider myself a very spiritual person, even though I believe in those things. But I see myself in it already. It's a practice of meaning, of purpose, of finding something that is sacred for me, like human connection, human interaction, body connection and emotions and understanding all of that. So, okay, I'm very interested.
Yeah. So spirituality is your connection to, or your desire to connect with yourself in a deeper way, with the other in a deeper way, and with something beyond the other, beyond the self in a deeper way. So yoga is a spiritual practice. Meditation is a spiritual practice. Hiking is a spiritual practice. Cooking is a spiritual practice. Journaling.
Yeah, running. I've heard people going into trance, which they call the runner's high.
Exactly.
Just by running.
Guys, drinking tea, brewing tea is a spiritual practice.
Drinking beer.
Drinking beer.
Okay.
Drinking beer.
Okay. Now I'm there.
I would say drinking beer because I visited an old monastery in Germany where they had on display the mugs that the monks used to drink, 3 liters and 5 liters mugs, where the brewing of beer was part of the meditation practice.
Oh, that could be that Monday.
It was so funny because, side note here, the lockers of the room, they were designed in a way, because they were so drunk with the key, they was designed in a way that it was slide into the hole. It's fascinating. Yeah.
I found my new home.
Yeah.
I'm not that bad, guys.
Yeah. So brewing beer is a spiritual practice. Actually, back in my lawyer days, one of our clients was a famous brewery from Europe. I forget the country. But there is one of those beers that are really expensive no matter the country you go, Duvel. Duvel. Because, can I say Duvel? Can I say the brand? I think I can say the brand. We are small. Yes. Duvel, because you are only allowed to sort of use the trademark Duvel, gets the beers from the monks, but the monks cannot be paid, because brewing is a spiritual practice. Wow. So it's very interesting arrangement and how they make it work. But the beer is expensive because there's not that much of it, So anything you do that carries all of that, it can be considered spiritual practice because it's not religious in any sense. It can be religious when you think about believing in a certain religious system where the spiritual practice connects you to that deity, to that divine, to your God, to your gods. Yeah. But if you are not a religious person, you can still have a spiritual practice. Yeah. When I think about that, our dance, any dance that we do that connects ourselves to other human being, connects ourselves to ourselves, understanding ourselves better, and doing something that we find purpose and meaning, it is a ginormous spiritual practice.
I can already think about drills of weight transfer, just walking back and forth in the room by yourself, feeling the floor, feeling your body,
100%.
Creating the intention, or maybe a body movement class where you're connecting with another body and you're feeling that exchange. And wow, guys.
Yeah.
We all hippies, okay?
We are hippies.
We all hippies.
But that's the point. That's the point. I think we are all hippies. Even if you, don't drink tea, even if you don't go do retreats and meditation retreats, that you don't do yoga, but you do have in your dance a way to connect with these things we have been talking about. Under this definition, it is a spiritual practice. The thing is that people associate the spirituality of it to a way of dancing the dance.
Or a certain image or a certain wardrobe of how somebody presents them physically and whatever they wear.
Exactly. So you can be wearing linen clothes that you bought from this person in Bali or in Thailand and stuff like that. Be eating organic and vegan and all these things and be, dressed, be doing all of that without that level of depth to the practice that somebody living in a big city wearing jeans every day with a lot of computers around them is practicing. So the depth of the practice, the awareness and the attention to detail in the practice is what for me defines the level of the depth of the spirituality, let's say. It's not what people wear, it's not what they eat, it's not where they live.
And it makes me think about those social media influencers that I can just smell the BS from the phone. I'm like, you don't walk the walk.
Yeah.
But then we have some students who are doctors and who are like into some very serious profession, wearing suits and things like that. But they're very connected with themselves, with their meaning, with their purpose. They come to a dance class and they're like so content with the energy in the room. They feel the vibe. But I don't know, maybe they have no actual connection to those retreats and practices and way of wearing those clothes.
Exactly. So I think we are, sometimes when we talk about the hippie people, we are talking about the stereotypical view of a hippie person and a stereotypical view of how people that dress like that or live like that and how they dance, the songs they like to dance and how they like to dance. Some of it is true, There is sometimes a relationship with that. So people go to Bali, people go to Kopangan, go to events there. And there's a whole aura around dancing in these locations because it's a location that does attract the spiritual people in the sense that it attracts the people who are into practices that connects them to what they understand as divine. So you're going to find in Kopangan a lot of yoga trainings. Same thing you're going to find in Bali. For some reason, these two places attract people that like to do practices that are considered spiritual practices. But we have the stereotypical view of a spiritual practice and the stereotypical view of who practices those spiritual practices. What we are trying to demystify here is that even if you're not fitting in that stereotype, you might still be doing a spiritual practice, doing something that brings you closer to a sense of purpose and meaning and self and beyond the self, beyond the material, into the immaterial, and just not calling like that, while looking at the others that you call like that with prejudice.
I'm going to throw some fuel to the fire here.
Yeah.
Could I be a Jack and Jill, hardcore, fanatic, point chaser, and still be a spiritual learner and dancer?
100%. 1000%. I know people that have in the competition their way of practicing connection to self, to something beyond, to the other. 1000%. Yeah.
No, I agree.
Yeah. Everything.
It was kind of a joke, but I absolutely agree because when we train our students to train for Jack and Jill, which we don't exactly do, we train them to become amazing social dancers, amazing at conversation and interaction and connection to music, to body, to partner, to all of those things. So I think, that's a spiritual practice must as Jack and Jill training.
Exactly. The thing is with that the spiritual view or review that people have of a dancer who is considered a spiritual dancer or they consider a Brazilian Zouk to be hippie is normally they are associated with people that highlight the connection with the other aspects of the practice. Eye gazing, slower movements, more time on the spot. So that's the association that is created. So the spiritual fact, the spiritual niche of the dance is associated with the practice of the dance, focus on the connection with the other. And then we zoom in and call that the spiritual people. because they do tend to dress in a certain way. They do tend to like go certain places, undeniably. Like that's there, not denying that. What we want to do is expand the concepts, perhaps. And so we see that in a more broad way and understand that practice that we associate with the spiritual dancers as a version of that, as a way of doing it. That is one of the many ways. So in retreats, in events that Brazilian Zouk is practicing a way, they often bring other spiritual practices, other practices that connect you to everything that we have been saying here. They bring yoga, they bring meditation, they bring conversations. They invite you to journal. They invite you to spend some time in nature. So they are just combining several practices with the desire for you to connect with something that you consider important to you. The journaling perhaps is with the self. The yoga perhaps is with your body. The meditation is with your thoughts. And the dance is with each other. So each practice connects you to one of these many things, So I understand now that Brazilian Zouk is used in certain contexts as a tool for connection. Depending on how it's used, it can, as any tool, be overused or can be wrongly used, which sometimes push it away from its original cultural core. So like you get a dance that comes from this cultural identity here, and then you extract it as a tool for this thing here. And sometimes to use the tool for this thing, you play songs that has nothing to do with the original stuff. And dance environments that are completely different, in settings that are completely different. So that doesn't make the dance less of the dance. That just, for me, amplifies the fact that you are making the dance, you're turning the dance into a tool for a specific purpose. Is that right or wrong? I have no idea. We go so much sometimes into this aspect of cultural appropriation. This is not the Brazilian Zouk culture. This is not how we dance the dance and stuff like that. And then I would counter argument that with the fact that even the name of the dance itself can be considered cultural appropriation, because most of the time we don't hear or we don't read Brazilian Zouk. We just hear Zouk. And if I am somebody in Martinique or Guadeloupe that grew up listening to Zouk in my house, dancing Zouk with my family, and I see all these people talking about Zouk, so that has nothing to do with what I saw growing up, nothing to do with the songs that I hear, with the artists that I went to the concerts, where I danced with my family, I would be very pissed.
So my previous dance partner, long story from like 20 years ago, my previous dance partner, Audrey Isotier, she's from Reunion Island. So she grew up learning to dance Zouk, but club Zouk, like the French one. One of the first classes that she came to learn the Brazilian Zouk that I was teaching in Perth, she actually confronted me in class, which was not confront. I shouldn't say that word, but she presented the argument and said, why do you call Brazilian Zouk when it's not Zouk and it's not French? And then I'm like, great question. Let's talk about history here for a moment. And then we talked about history and then everything went on. But yeah, for her, and she also had a few of her friends taking the class, they're kind of very confused. It's almost like, why this guy's calling Brazilian Zouk and I grew up with Zouk. This is not it.
Exactly. So that alone already helps us. The other aspect of this discussion is then, okay, we have this thing going and then it goes to social media. People dancing Brazilian Zouk as a tool for connecting deeper to the self, to the other, to the beyond. We have the long dances that we transcend. We talked about this in the episode of neural coupling and neural syncing. Go listen.
Those dances may not intentionally be anything that started as a spiritual experience. But when you lose yourself and you're like, oh my God, that dance, oh, I don't even know what happened. You just had a spirit experience, right?
Something connected you deeper to yourself, to the other, to something beyond that you cannot explain.
Or like you're in a class. You enter that class and the class goes for 2 hours and you just blinked and it feels like a minute.
Yeah. I talk about this with Paloma so much when she mentions the aspect of channeling, when she's teaching channeling, in the sense that it's not her who is speaking. She's channeling a message for her that's spiritual. You know? So then this whole thing goes to social media for people who don't know this thing, who don't know the dance, and then they see that. And that's the part where it gets complicated. That's the part where I think people get angry. I think people get fearful. How we are selling the dance, how we are marketing the dance. This is not for everybody. This is not a family dance. This is a dance for single people, and all this conversation begins, which is very fair. The conversation of how accessible the dance can be. And on the other side of it, my arguments, then what is considered to be the accepted display of the dance? You know, if we think about accessibility, if we think about something looking at a video and thinking, I could do that. I could learn that dance. Are there representations of that? You know? So for me, we could move into a place of understanding a little bit more, asking more questions for those who have participated in different events and have seen different things. And I don't know, making a decision on what is it that they want to convey more? What is it that they want to show more? What is it that they want to support? What is it that they want to endorse? Yeah, because what you give attention to is what grows. Yeah. So the discussion for me becomes very harmful when we just talk about it without seeking to understand it better. You know, and with this episode, I hope we can bring some inspiration, bring some light about this whole thing of spiritual, of hippies and all of that. I know some people that would want to go to events that use Brazilian Zouk as a tool, but they don't want, they end up not going because it is too hippie for them. You know, and then it could be very hippie for them, but it could be that they are not yet ready to go through certain experiences. And through certain experiences, I mean to experience the other tools. Yeah? And understanding that these events, they are not events for you to dance Brazilian Zouk better. They are not events for you to learn Brazilian Zouk. They are events for you to embody yourself more. What does that mean? Understand your movements more. Feel your weight transfer. Feel your arm move around. Feel your posture. You know, understand the wholeness of your body, the fullness of your body. And then you're going to have all these practices, including Brazilian Zouk. I went to a plant medicine retreat that we were doing ayahuasca, we were doing rapé, we were doing cambo, we were doing bufo, we were doing temazcal, and I was in a Zouk class.
That's a combo.
Very interesting combo, very crazy combo. I know of someone that just went into a yoga training and taught Brazilian Zouk. It's like, guys, there is this cool thing that I do. I think it talks with some of the stuff we learned here in yoga. And then Brazilian Zouk is there.
That's very interesting, actually. I just remembered that there was one season that I was teaching in Beijing, in China. And somebody from the Chinese Olympic team of ice dancers, the partner version, saw a video of me and the local teacher called Snow, who lives in Montreal now. So I was dancing Zouk. And they said, can you come and teach our ice dancers to do this? And I was like, how? Why? Why do you guys want to learn this? And we got there and they told us, look, we are lacking that human connection that you guys have in your dance. We don't want to learn the dance itself. It's not like teach us Brazilian Zouk, but teach us how to become one like you guys do. Because they are highly skilled, trained ice dancers. But their coach was telling us that the main thing that they're missing is that just human interaction, because they train so hard that they've gone too far from that human connection. And I could relate so much, because when I was competing and traveling the world, that was exactly what I was doing. My entire dance training was for the outside, for the judges, for the show. And then after I quit, after I came back, that's when I connected to the dancer, to that teenager who started dancing and feeling like I belonged somewhere, that I could connect with people without feeling like they were judging me. All of those things, that's when I went back into practicing that and understanding that this is what I fell in love with. So yeah, I can see so many people in the community who are searching to become better dancers or searching to have better connection. And I think they would really benefit from some sort of maybe not spiritual called practice, because they would run away.
Yes.
But
some practice.
Pretty much spiritual practice. You know, like I remember one time a teacher saying, look, this is the title of the class, but this is just to get them through the door. I'm actually going to teach them something else. So we might have to do that.
Yeah, made 100%. So there are a couple of things. Now, the first one is when you then go to an event that is considered a hippie and is spiritual, and then people are there with their yoga pants, with their Aladdin pants, and all the old vision that we have, the stereotype, which we said no to it right now, a couple minutes ago. And they sometimes do have not so good experience of the dance itself, because you start to feel the lacking of certain elements to make that dance feel good, feel comfortable. The technique, which brings us back to a very old conversation of connection and technique as a dichotomy, and bringing them, there is connection technique and there is technique in connection. So the people who are sometimes afraid of going to events like that, they are sometimes afraid of the lack of technique, that people just hold them and breathe together. And they want to do some basic steps, you know? So I have seen when the Brazilian Zouk dance is taken as a tool for connection to the extreme, that lets go of the technical aspects that turn it into the dance that we know. The viradinha is not there. The basic step is not there. Yeah, so that
not even a rhythm.
Not even a rhythm. Not even a rhythm. So the dance it loses its form, you know, in the way that we understand it. So that when it goes to an extreme, that's why, for example, in the retreats that I participate in Bali, I teach Brazilian Zouk, and I am responsible for teaching the technique, you know, and so the other facilitators teach aspects of Brazilian Zouk as the tool, and then I teach the technique, to connect yourself to this core that we talked about. The veggies. Teach the veggies. Amazing. Cool. And the other thing that you, in the lines of what you were talking about before, that sometimes a person that just does Brazilian Zouk on a Tuesday night after work, sometimes for that person, the dance is a unknown spiritual practice for them, because it's the thing they do, and sometimes the only thing they do on a weekly basis that connects them to themselves, to their movement, and to somebody else. While sometimes someone who dances all the time and lost track of why they are dancing, the dance stopped being a spiritual practice. The dance stopped being something they do to connect to the other, to the purpose, to the meaning, because they lost track of why they are doing it in the first place. So they are in autopilot. So sometimes we know people who dance for a living, but their spiritual practice is another one. Dance became work, dance became mechanic, and they find that spirituality not in the dance anymore. And that's something that I found super fascinating. The practice that started as your tool for meaning and purpose and beyond became mechanical, lost the why. And then you need to find another one. Maybe now I need to meditate. Now I need to journal. I need to brew tea. I need to brew beer. I need to hike. I need to be in contact with nature. Because that tool that was once the spiritual tool lost its meaning. How many times I have seen this in the places considered to be the hippie places with the people considered to be the hippie people. They are there with the yoga pants, dancing mechanically, who are discussing with me in their yoga pants that they lost. Wow. They lost the thing with the dance. How can I find it again? You know, so then you break the stereotype completely. The stereotype falls apart in front of you. Because the person that started dancing as a spiritual practice lost that as their practice. And I wanted to find it somewhere else. You know, so guys, it's very deep. It's really fascinating, really complex. And my invitation is always to ask, investigate, learn a little bit more from the people, hear from them, and make your judgments, make your assessments out of that experience of listening to people.
Yeah. One big thing that I take from this conversation is to really understand that everything that we do, we shouldn't really judge because of a name.
Yes.
Right? So if a workshop is talking about connection and weight transfer, but then what if I call that class connecting with your soul?
Yes.
Then a bunch of people are going to go like, no, this is a hippie class. I'm not going there. But if I call it footwork drills, footwork drills for grounding, and then all the ZoukNerds go there and all the hippies stay away because they're like, nah, this is too technical. But it could be exactly the same class.
Exactly. That's
like the same teaching.
That's it.
That's one big thing that I take from this episode.
Yeah, and that's it. Like I recently reheard a quote that I like from a neuroscientist from Spain. That she says, the things are not as they are. The things are what we are. To talk about that when we look at something, that image is processed in our memory part of the brain, which of course is our experience of the world. And then when we go into the rational part after looking at the thing, we make a judgment call. So we might see somebody dancing eye to eye and think, wow, that's beautiful. Look how connected they are. But the person right next to me might look at that and say, what they're doing, why they don't go somewhere else, you know? While they watch a person spinning many times, and some people will say, oh my God, look at the technique, so beautiful. Wow, that's art. And another person would say, he's not even looking at her. He's looking to the side, you know? So we'll see what we want to see, except the thing that is happening in front of us. Very, very hard for us to look at the person spinning and say, oh, there's a guy. His left hand is in this position. The person is in this position. And they are turning their arm and the person is spinning. It's very hard for us to see the spin. It's much easier for us to see what we make of the spin. You know,
trying to put meaning on everything, right?
It's the most mind-boggling thing in the world. You know, if you try that, open a video of dance, look at it, and maybe write down what was your judgment. Beautiful, boring, engaging, blah, blah.
Show off.
Write down what was the thing. And then write down what you see. Oh, I saw basic, a viradinha. I saw a thing, you know? And just look at both. And guys, it's a fascinating process. I did this a couple of times. I was shown an image and we were first guided to say what we think was happening in that image. And the thing that came at first was, this person is unhappy, this person is sad, blah, blah, blah. And then we were invited to say, no, write what you're seeing. Or we're seeing a person smiling, you're seeing the other person with the just to basically do the observation and separate it from the evaluation. And the same thing goes for what we understand as spiritual, technical, connected, not connected, all that stuff.
Amazing. Well, let's thank Gui for this beautiful conversation here and really eye-opening way to put all of this into perspective. I think that's a great conversation. It's going to take me a while to digest, but thankfully I'm going to edit this. So I'm going to be listening to this conversation multiple times. Yes. And guys, thank you so much for being here. If you like what we do and you want to help us grow, please follow, subscribe, share with a friend, and we'll see you on the next one. So thank you. Beijos, abraços, and ciao.
Bye, everyone.